Geek Myths, a novel about life, love, and the pursuit of sonic screwdrivers. Available in paperback and Kindle edition from Amazon.
Scanning for audio.
Welcome to a Tin Dog Podcast, this time talking about Story 9 from 2018, Bad Dad. Well, the title on the screen was called It Takes You Away, but actually it should be called Bad Dad Through the Looking Glass. Seriously, that's basically what it's about. And in keeping with most of the Doctor of this season, not really a monster to be seen, but let's cover all of the bases and all of the notes I've got here. This is the third time I've tried to record this particular review, so bear with me if you can hear some extraneous noises in the background, because I'm having to do this while my daughter has one of her synchronized swimming lessons, just so that I can spend some quality time with you, my beloved and probably attractive listeners. Right, where were we? I will talk about the frog, don't worry about it, you know I will. But when it comes down to it, this whole story, this whole thing, although Ryan's not in it half as much as he should be, is actually, well, character development for Ryan. He starts off saying, well, your dad's clearly left you, and everyone else is shocked and stunned, and yet he's right. He's so right and so smug about it that he ends up calling Graham Grandad, which, you know what, is all Graham really wants. Now, this story is also about the terrible things that happen to the universe when a Slayer fan marries an Arctic Monkeys fan. It's appalling. It shouldn't be allowed to happen. How could that even have happened? I just think it's wrong. Now yes, the story takes place in Norway. It looks gorgeous. But all I was thinking was Slotty Bartfrost. Did you ever go to a place? I think it was called Norway. No, I didn't. Pity. That was one of mine. I had terrible fun doing all of the fjords and fiddly bits. I was terribly sorry to hear of its destruction. 5 minutes too early, shocking cock up, the mice are furious. And so on. Yeah. You know, I was going to insert it, but I just thought a Slotty Bartfrost impression would do instead. Yeah. So, at the beginning, was I the only one who was thinking Grendel? You know, the whole monster in the forest thing, and I was thinking, oh, it's trolls and elves and that kind of thing, and clearly I was just wrong. I was also thinking Moomins, but you know what? That's probably breach of copyright, and also, you don't get Moomins making that kind of roaring noise. Oh, on the subject of Moomins, has anybody ever thought that Snork Maiden would be like the greatest name for a soft metal band? Only me then? Moving on. So, the guy, they really, you know, the bad dad, Keith or Kevin or Jeff or whatever he's called, he's using the BBC radiophonic album that you could get from the 1970s to scare his daughter and keep her in her place. And like Ryan says, all he needed to do really was get her an internet connection. But yeah, just to make sure she didn't go out. It's a bit ridiculous if you ask me, but it can't be helped. So he buys this sound effects album in order to keep her in, as opposed to, say, I don't know, sending her off to an aunt or something like that. How he's found this dimensional portal, that's a whole different kettle of fish. So you've got the whole monsters in the wood trying to keep you in your place. It's a bit, well, let's not give any J. Michael Shamalama Ding Dong spoilers on that one, shall we? No, getting back to the plot. So, the basic idea is that there's monster sound effects in order to put the willies up someone, which is exactly the same plot as an old Father Ted episode called Burpy Burpy Sheep Bleep Deep. Burpy Dirty Bur... You know the one? It's done with the sound effect album, and they have to investigate, and there's a best sheep beauty contest, and the sheep's... Anyway, it doesn't matter. Find it. It's hilarious, but it also uses a very, very similar plot. So, is lying to the blind reasonable? No. Is it the sort of thing that happens a lot in this? Yes. And you know what? It sounds awful, but I really, really, really liked her watch. One of those touch watches that you can kind of tell the time through Braille. Oh, they're so cool. Yeah. Now, I could go on, But then you've got the nice mirror effect, and you've got people popping into... Yeah, and, you know, Graham without a reflection, it just made me think just a tiny bit of, well, the Space Museum in that episode 1, where, you know, when it's good, before they jump time tracks, and then it's not good. And in many respects, that's kind of a similarity there as well. But you know what? You can bang on about similarities between this and a classic Doctor Who as much as you want. When I was watching this the first time, I was not in the best frame of mind. I didn't really enjoy it. I kind of thought for a moment, oh, it's alright, it's not really for me, but that's fine. There's more Doctor Who along later. I mean, I've got my big finishes to listen to. I've got more DVDs than you can shake a stick at. And so on. Didn't like it. Really didn't like the ending. Just kind of thought it was, you know, another Doctor Who story I wasn't fond of. My wife isn't enjoying Jodie at all. Not because it's a female Doctor, not because of anything. The thing she doesn't like about Jodie is that she just seems to be some woman impersonating David Tennant. That's all she's getting from the role. Every time she does a performance and does a speech or anything like that, it just, to her, sounds like David Tennant's doing the drills, and she's reading all David Tennant lines out. She's got a point. You see, perhaps it's just me. So anyway, like I said, I didn't enjoy it first off. Just wasn't for me. I thought the frog was appalling. I thought the build-up was a bit pants. I thought the interspatial gap between each universe was a bit, well, you know, 1984, corridors, caves, bit pants. But that's awful, you see, because if you visit caves in real life, they really do look like they've been built by Matt Irvine's mates. You can't win when it comes to making caves. Again, sorry for the noises you can hear, but this is the only chance I've got to speak to you. So anyway, you've got Ribbons of the Quonsing Grig, played by the actor Kevin Eldon. Now, I love Kevin Eldon's work. Big fan. Right? Everything he's done, Big Train, and so on. But there is obviously something you can tell. And I could tell, the minute he appeared in costume, I was like, oh, well, it's Kevin Eldon, cool. I didn't know he was going to be in this episode at all. I don't read Doctor Who magazine during the run of the show. So this time next week, after episode 10, I'll be able to read the last 3 months worth of Doctor Who magazine. It'll be brilliant. So I'll know all of the spoilers for everything I've seen. Great. So anyway, Kevin Eldon, the actor Kevin Eldon, as he was known to anyone who's a big fan of, well, Stuart Lee and, anyway. He also is the voice of Penfold in the brand new Danger Mouse. He's so good that it actually feels like he's inhabited by Terry Scott, who did the original voice back in the 80s. And it's just incredible. He is Penfold. So, you've got things like reversing the polarity coming out of Yaz's mouth, which is lovely. And that's if anybody's a shipper, that's going to flick a few switches for them. And so on. There are wonderful moments like the Great Sheep Rebellion of 2211. I'm going to look up those dates because I'm completely sure that's not even been hinted at. But it does sound like something Pertwee would have sorted out. And then, of course, there is perhaps, for me, the single most realistic moment ever to appear in modern Doctor Who. It took my breath away. It took me a moment to let it assimilate, to accept that I'd seen it on screen. It was a gloriously well thought out moment of, well, verisimilitude. The reality of it was just so true. Graham's cheese and pickle sandwich. Yes, I've enjoyed Graham almost as much as all of the American and Canadian podcasters have. And I've let go of all of the baggage from his other programmes that we've sat through but nobody else has. And all of his other performances. But the one thing that I must say defines the whole of history of Doctor Who is his cheese and pickle sandwich. I can't tell you how important it is. Because that's what you would do. If you were on an adventure and you were a man of a certain age, or even older than me, you'd make sure you had a packed lunch. Hell, that could be an entire storyline for a future episode. Graham with a pot noodle. Think about it. I think it's important that he does have food, and also it would be nice to see in the future other characters learning from him. But perhaps I'm just exaggerating. And now, of course, we need to talk about the frog in the room. Yes, I know. No, I know. You don't need to do it. You know what? Imagine the story a tiny bit different, okay? Just a little bit. where it's not a frog. Or that the frog's better worked out. Or even if it's, say, an animated frog, rather than just, well, something that looks like you got it down the joke shop. Let's go the whole hog. Let's turn it into a scary doll that belonged to the daughter. Or something else. Oh, now this is the point where you discover that it's a sentient alternative pocket universe, that I realise that this story is a reworking of another Doctor Who story. It's the Doctor's Wife, but without the Doctor's Wife in it. Think about it. House is this Solenox thing, this myth, this fifth grandmother nonsense story. You know what? I've just given up caring about that kind of thing now. Just doesn't matter. The Doctor had too many grandmothers. Let's not even talk about looms. Now let's not even go down those roads. I don't care any more about the Doctor's previous life at all. All I care about is the way it's going. So, the alternative universe, the flesh moths, all of these things just worked, but I suspect they would have worked better on audio. So, a better story than I thought. I always thought it was less than the sum of its parts, but perhaps it truly wasn't quite less than the sum of its parts. I'll watch it again, and I'll report back eventually. But that's for another time. Very soon, it'll be the end of season 10. Then there'll be a bit of a gap, and then on New Year's Day, we'll be able to have, well, our special, our seasonal goodie. My wife was over the moon that there was no Doctor Who at Christmas. She was less than impressed by the fact that there'll be one on New Year's Day. But that's alright. Nothing else happens on New Year's Day. It's always a bit of a damp squib. I personally think it's a much, much more sensible move to have it then. So, I'll fade away and let you enjoy whatever you want to do now. So until next time, be seeing you.
That was the Doctor Who Tin Dog Podcast, available on iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, RSS, Vimeo, and across the internet. Doctor Who and its associated properties are all copyright and trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Why not become a supporter by visiting patreon.com/tindog. Contact the show on tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.